Hello and thanks for joining us for another edition of Northwest Newsweek. I'm Mitchell Ringos. After a decade of public education efforts, Wabigoon Lake Ojibwe Nation is preparing to make a big decision. The community will participate in a referendum next year about a potential nuclear waste site in their territory. Lee Noonan has the story.
Nuclear waste consultations with Wabigoon Lake Ojibwe Nation started in 2014 after neighboring Ignace nominated itself as a potential host site for a deep geological repository for spent nuclear fuel. The proposed site would be in Wabigoon's territory, and they are also being asked to decide whether they're a willing host for the facility. The First Nation plans to hold a referendum in the new year.
We'll be asking all of our members to help make the decision. It's not a chief and council decision, it's an everybody decision.
Deneen Chief has been working on the nuclear file for about 9 years. She says her focus over the years has been on educating herself and the people of Wabigoon as much as possible about the Nuclear Waste Management Organization's plan to bury used nuclear fuel in the rock about 20 kilometers from the reserve.
Back when I first started in this role in 2015, I had no idea where the energy came from in Ontario. I turned on the lights and, I was glad the lights came on. But now, learning that 60% of it comes from nuclear. We've just been on a big learning journey here at Wabigoon.
The NWMO has provided funding to improve the community's powwow grounds and construct a few new homes, but Chief says the majority of the funds they've received from the agency have gone into public education. Wabigoon members have been invited to presentations on everything from nuclear science to geology to sociology, with presenters from the nuclear industry as well as anti-nuclear advocates and independent experts. 18 members were also invited to tour the deep geological repository being built now in Finland.
For Wabigoon, we take this decision very, very seriously. And at the end of the day, I hope that we make the right decision for Wabigoon, for Ignace, for Canada.
All adult members will be eligible to vote in the referendum. Wabigoon's chief and council are working now on setting a date and determining exactly what question will be asked. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
The feared layoffs at the Lac des Îles and Palladium mine have now been confirmed as officials from Impala Canada broke the news to their staff that 95 people received layoff notices. The mine, located north of Thunder Bay off Highway 527, had around 1,100 employees up until now. The decision to reduce the workforce was made so the mine would be able to continue operating after palladium prices plummeted 50% over the past year. Impala's CEO Tim Hill called it a challenging day for the company and a difficult decision to cut the workforce. In a letter to staff, Hill says they took every measure to complete the restructuring with care and respect for those affected. The layoffs include 59 unionized employees and 36 non-union staff. Impala Canada officials say their mineral production and mine investments will adjust accordingly, but insist that LDI will remain a significant mining operation. A Thunder Bay man has entered a guilty plea in a high-profile art fraud case. Gary Lamont is one of 8 people arrested earlier this year in relation to the production and sale of fake Norval Morrisseau paintings. Police have previously said they believe it was the biggest case of art fraud in world history, worth an estimated $100 million. Lee Noonan has more.
Gary Lamont is alleged to be one of the main ringleaders in the years-long art fraud, which came to light in the documentary There Are No Fakes. Police say the 8 accused forged thousands of fake Norval Morrisseau paintings valued at roughly $15,000 on average. Lamont pleaded guilty in court Monday to 2 counts. 1 count of forgery for the creation of false artworks attributed to Morrisseau and 1 count of fraud over $5,000. At a second hearing scheduled for December 14th, the Crown will ask for the withdrawal of the remaining charges against Lamont, as well as the charges against 1 co-accused, 59-year-old Linda Tachuk, also of Thunder Bay. Lamont will also face sentencing at that time. The court is expecting a fairly large attendance as victims are being invited to attend the hearing if they intend to seek restitution or wish to make a victim impact statement. All identified victims should be receiving notification from the Crown. The Crown is also seeking the forfeiture of the forged paintings and will be reaching out to third parties who may be in possession of the forgeries. Police encourage anyone who believe they may be in possession of a forged Morrisseau to contact a lawyer. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
A Dryden woman was arrested by OPP twice this week. Police allege the 34-year-old deliberately set 2 fires in her First Street apartment on Monday night. She was arrested soon after and charged with arson. The woman was released with conditions on Tuesday. Then on Tuesday night, Dryden OPP were called to the same apartment where they say the same woman was found in the apartment actively destroying property. She was charged again and remains in custody. 2 area candidates for the Ontario Liberals in the 2022 election are now giving their support to Bonnie Crombie after she won the party leadership last Saturday. That's despite both nominees pushing for runner-up Nate Erskine-Smith. Shelby Chung and Rob Barrett say they're confident that Crombie has the ability to win the 2026 election. Celios Bellos reports.
It's a new era for Ontario's Liberal Party. Mississauga Mayor Bonnie Crombie was the favorite heading into Saturday's leadership vote, but it took 3 rounds of voting for her to secure the nomination.
Thank you for taking a spark and turning it into a big red flame here today.
Crombie enters with the Liberals coming off a 2022 election where they received less than 24% of the popular vote, and the party only secured 8 seats. As for the local Liberal candidates in 2022, there's confidence Crombie can turn things around.
Yeah, I think she's got a lot of fight, and I really do appreciate her style.
That includes Shelby Chung, who ran in Thunder Bay Superior North last election, losing to Lise Vaugeois of the NDP. Chung says she believes Crombie can be a powerful rival for Premier Doug Ford.
The way he speaks, the way he carries himself, and I think that resonates with a lot of people. So I think Bonnie's going to have to come up with a strategy to, make herself equally appealing. I mean, not necessarily the same as Doug Ford, but equally appealing so that voters want to be inspired by her.
Under her leadership, I think we're going to accomplish great things.
Rob Barrett was the Liberal candidate in Thunder Bay Atikokan last year, but lost out to Progressive Conservative Kevin Holland. Both Chung and Barrett had endorsed Nate Erskine-Smith, who finished a close second for the Liberal leadership. Barrett says despite supporting the runner-up, he's confident in Crombie being a leader who can challenge the PCs, and he stresses that she knows the issues faced by the Northwest.
I think she understands it, and I think she's willing to work with local leaders and begin to address those issues, which are really a huge concern as we head into winter.
Crombie comes in at a time where the Liberal Party has considerable ground to make up if they hope to challenge Premier Ford's Progressive Conservatives. Though with an election not set until 2026, both Chung and Barrett believe progress will be made at the provincial level and right here in Thunder Bay. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Superior North MPP Lise Vaugeois was pushing the Ford government this week to increase funding for sexual abuse crisis centers. The Attorney General responded and suggested a private meeting with Vaugeois on the issue.
In 2020, the Conservative government decided to stop renewing an annual $1 million funding boost to rape crisis and sexual assault support centres. Some of these centres are seeing the longest wait lists they've ever experienced. Centre workers warn that wait times act as a deterrence for victims because victims will stop trying to access services when they are told they have to wait. Obviously, we know the trauma is just intensified with the waiting. Will you consider amending Bill 157 to increase funding to rape crisis and sexual assault support centres?
We have put several supports and increased funding to not just support centres, but to victim witness programs and to into every sector of our expansion for the justice system. So it wouldn't, quite frankly, be the tool, quite frankly, this bill, to do a funding increase per se. Happy to chat more about where you think the system needs more supports, but we are supporting the system and we are supporting the victims of everything from serious sexual assaults to human trafficking, all the way through the system, Madam Speaker.
The Ontario Native Women's Association is raising awareness about violence against women through the arts. We'll be right back with a look at their Strong Hands Stop Violence event. While recent polls have shown a significant drop in public support for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, the two Liberal MPs in the Northwest are standing by their leader. Cilios Bellos reports.
Choose forward! Merci!
There's been a significant drop since 2019 as far as voter support for our nation's leader. A number of recent polls, including one in late November from Nanos, shows only 19% of Canadians call Justin Trudeau their preferred prime minister, compared to 34% for opposition leader Pierre Poilievre. Despite these statistics, local Liberal members of Parliament aren't hitting the panic button. Thunder Bay Rainy River MP Marcus Pawlowski says Trudeau is still the right person for the job and a devoted leader.
For 8 years, I think for the most part, he's done a good job. I think he certainly worked exceptionally hard. And it's maybe something people don't realize who aren't in Parliament. The amount of work that the guy does is incredible. And you have to be absolutely devoted to your job to become the prime minister.
A separate Ipsos poll from last month found 38% of those within Trudeau's own Liberal Party want him to step aside. Thunder Bay Superior North MP Patty Haidu still supports Trudeau and says she does her best not to focus on what she calls the gossipy side of politics.
What I focus on is my riding and the work that I'm doing for Canadians across the country as a Minister of FedNor and Indigenous Services Canada. That's what I focus on. It's conversation by conversation, it's file by file. And what I can tell you is that the Prime Minister has set this country on a direction that has I think, positioned us well to take advantage of things like the green transition that's happening right now.
Meanwhile, the latest Nanos Party Power Index tracking shows the Trudeau Liberals at their lowest point since he was elected party leader in 2013. The next federal election is expected to happen in 2025. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
Police have charged one person with stunt driving for allegedly traveling more than double the speed limit in the town of Schreiber on Wednesday afternoon. According to Schreiber OPP, officers on patrol spotted a vehicle traveling along Highway 17 through Schreiber doing 133 kilometers an hour in a 60 kilometer an hour zone. A 24-year-old woman from Calgary has been charged with stunt driving, received an immediate 30-day license suspension and a 14-day vehicle impoundment. The public pool in Fort Frances will be closed for the remainder of the winter after being shut down for major structural repairs. A recent inspection showed degradation to the bases of the pillars that support the roof, making the building unsafe. The lower parts of the wood pillars are being replaced with concrete. The work is expected to take about 20 weeks. Funding for the pool repairs will already be in place, and the municipality started applying for funding after some initial damage was discovered in 2018. CAO Travis Robb says that the damage had gotten significantly worse since it was first noticed.
I attribute that a lot to the additional cleaning that we had to do with the COVID protocols that were in place, because we were using a lot of water. We were doing a lot of washing of the walls of the deck, and it was the bases of these wood columns that are at the connection of the wall and the deck where the rot and the deterioration was really happening.
Our youth use it for swimming. Our seniors love the pool. They go there and exercise in the pool. So, you know, it's a real loss to the community when it's tied up. So we want to get it fixed, but that's the point. We want it to be fixed so we can use it for many, many years safely.
Which are budgeted at nearly $1.3 million, also include repairs to cracks in the floor of the pool and a new liner resurfacing the deck and upgraded ventilation. The chief of Cat Lake First Nation took the opportunity at the Chiefs of Ontario Fall Assembly to confront Ontario's Minister of Northern Development and Indigenous Affairs on his government's handling of resource development and mining in their territory.
I made every attempt to work with you all these years, and you're always resisting, because you, in your mind, in your paternalistic colonial attitude, that the land is mine.
Many campaign promises are quickly forgotten, but Doug Ford's 2018 election comment saying that he'd hop on the bulldozer himself to build the road to the Ring of Fire still rankles Wesley. He presented Minister Rickford with a button showing a Lynx family opposing the Premier on a bulldozer. Wesley says he supports development but takes issue with the process.
I'm just going to continue trying to work with government. trying to establish a process that sensibly allows development to happen in the Catholic territory, but it has to be environmentally sustainable, and the guiding factor is we have to ensure that land is available for my children, your children, long into the future.
At the Assembly, the chiefs voted to support a moratorium issued by Cat Lake on all mining-related activities in their territory, advocate for the right to free, prior, and informed consent, and call on the province to respect Cat Lake First Nation and their rights. Kiiwetinoong MPP Saul Mamakwa and Minister Greg Rickford were on the same page for once on an issue at Queen's Park. Mamakwa was asking the government this week to support community gardens in remote First Nations. The Minister of Northern Development and Indigenous Affairs agreed it's an important initiative.
The cost of living in the North is very high. A 2016 report stated that First Nation families in Northern Ontario spend more than half of their income on groceries to meet the basic nutritional requirements. Speaker, last summer I visited Kiiwetinoong First Nation and I met April McKay, who has a community garden that provides fresh produce to Kiiwetinoong. Speaker, is there any way that this government can help other people across the North like April who want to create community gardens and improve food security?
So the short answer is absolutely, Mr. Speaker. Food security is ready to move forward. The Northern Ontario Heritage Fund is already supporting communities like Yabmatoong First Nation, Neskandiga and Martin Falls have called for this. We have new partnerships at the University of Guelph and a great discussion with the Minister of Agriculture about how we can put these pieces together, provide the capacity to build community gardens, micro-farming, and other kinds of techniques, vertical growing, so that that kind of nutritional food can be built potentially year-round in those isolated communities.
Meanwhile, MPP Lise Vaugeois is calling on the Ford government to bring back forensic autopsy services to the Northwest. In January, Thunder Bay Regional announced it could no longer offer the service due to staffing challenges, meaning all bodies would have to be sent to Toronto for postmortems. Then in September, the Ontario Forensic Pathology Service informed City Police they would be flying in staff for Toronto for 1 week per month to perform autopsies here, but Vaugeois wants the province to do more.
In 2023, that service is gone, and as the acting police chief of the time said, the move will create further delays that have significant adverse effects on their investigations and potentially traumatize families who are waiting for the remains of their loved ones while creating an indignity to the deceased. So what's happening is all bodies are being sent to Toronto. Will the government amend Bill 157 in order to establish a forensic pathology unit in Thunder Bay as recommended in the 2018 Broken Trust report?
Some of the autopsies are being done in Thunder Bay. The coroner's office is sending up pathologists on a regular basis to Thunder Bay where appropriate, and when difficult cases are identified, then those bodies are being shipped to Toronto and they're being expedited. But to answer the question, yes, Madam Speaker, we are looking into all alternatives and hopefully one day having an office in the Northwest region. This is something that is being investigated right now.
And after the break, the 8th annual Strong Hands Stop Violence Poetry Night took place. Poets, storytellers, and songwriters recently gathered in Thunder Bay to raise awareness about violence against women. The Ontario Native Women's Association hosted their 8th annual Strong Hand Stop Violence Poetry Night. The event merged the power of words, art, music, and community to provide a safe space for those on their healing journey. Jessica Clement has the story.
It was a night of hope and healing for those attending the Ontario Native Women's Association's 8th annual Strong Hand Stop Violence Poetry Night. The event was part of the International Day to End Violence Against Women, with the purpose to provide healing and allow women to reclaim their voice and power through art.
Healing is holding hands with the wind.
The event featured a mix of established and emerging artists and showed attendees how poetry, art, and music could express the inexpressible. Inuk singer-songwriter Susan Aglukark was one of the keynote speakers for the event. She spoke about using expression as a healing tool and performed a number of songs throughout the evening. Aglukark says events like Poetry Night are critical.
When we think about the sheer numbers of women who face violence every day, who are leaving violent situations and need to relearn and rediscover safety in their body, in their soul, in their spirit. Spaces like this and events like this and organizations like ONWA are very critical to just meeting them where they are at.
ONWA CEO Cora Maguire-Surrett has been part of Poetry Night since day one. She says it's grown a lot since they started, and it's her favorite event that they host.
Being able to, be vulnerable in this space with your community and be able to actually talk a bit about your journey, about your healing, and reclaiming your voice and reclaiming your empowerment. And so, the power of this evening is something I look forward to every year.
ONWA Community Development Manager Colin Graham adds that the event is near and dear to his heart, as it's allowed community members to heal and grow together.
We know that we're doing impactful work by empowering the voices of survivors of domestic violence, of all sorts of violence. It's a night where we are more than survivors. We recognize the power of that. We are all healers.
More information about the Strong Hand Stop Violence project can be found on ONWA's website. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
For more than a century, a small church has sat on the hill overlooking the unincorporated township of Wabigoon. The Angelic Church sold the building to the local service board, and now they're turning it into a museum. Built in 1898, the church was one of the first buildings in the small community. Locals are hoping to preserve that piece of history and many others by converting the building into a museum, as well as an event venue and book exchange library. Tracy Pakarinens is president of the museum committee, and she says they hope to have it up and running next summer.
We would like to keep the building in Wabigoon. We don't want to see it tore down because everything is getting torn down, and it's one of the oldest buildings still around. And it's nice. Just a nice building. Lots of history, lots of memories.
For now, the museum's collection includes artifacts that were left in the Anglican Church, as well as what Pakarinen herself has donated. She's asking all Wabigoon residents to contribute to the museum with old photos, news clippings, or anything else of historic value. They're also hoping for monetary donations. And that's all the time we have for this edition of Northwest Newsweek. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.